So here I am, 38 weeks pregnant, thinking about sex all the time. Throughout this pregnancy, and especially in the last few weeks, I have spent a lot of time thinking about some really interesting ideas around pregnancy and sex and how much our culture has separated the two. This is my third pregnancy and I am just at the very end of it. And to be honest, I have spent most of my pregnancies feeling very unsexy and unbeautiful, and in between I've spent a lot of time thinking about and looking and lamenting about my breasts and how saggy they are and my stretch marks and just how much my body has changed. Because let's be honest, the mom body is not the body to be attained in this day and age. So I have a few interesting thoughts to propose to you about changing our mindsets and also our entire culture's mindset. I'm going to use some kind of new agey sounding language because I honestly can't think of a better way to say it. Sex energy is life energy. And when I say that, what I mean is sex creates life. Sex creates babies. And prior to our modern technology, which enables us to get pregnant in other ways, the only way to create new life and to create a baby, another human, is to have sex. And of course, I'm using just very, very general terms right now because I know infertility and a lot of other very complex things all surround this topic, and I want to be sensitive to that, but I'm just talking in very general, broad human terms, which, yeah, sex creates babies. And that's the only way to do it. That is the way that humanity has survived until now, is through lots and lots of sex and reproduction. And even though in pop culture we talk so much about sex symbols and, you know, there's just this, so many images and kind of the vibe, the image of a person who is sexual or sexually active and whatever. But let's be realistic. If you wanted to look at a person and be able to tell if they are sexually active or not, there is no way to tell unless if you see a round belly. And so my proposal is that if there ever was a sex symbol, it should be a pregnant woman, which I know is like an extremely almost absurd sounding thing to say, but if you really think about it, it actually doesn't sound so absurd anymore. The thing that is so ironic to me is that in our culture, the thing that is glorified and that is praised and that everybody is striving to attain is technically the body of a virgin, the body of a woman who has never carried a child before, never birthed, never breastfed, never been stretched out or opened up by anything. And at the same time, the other thing that is glorified and that everybody's talking about and everybody wants is sex and steaminess and passion and all of these things. And so, but if you put the two together, you have sex, that creates a baby, and goodbye virgin body, enter the mom bod. Which this is something that no one is striving to attain. No one wants the extra weight gain, no one wants the stretch marks, no one wants the saggy boobs or the stretched out nipples or and whatever the other ways that your body changes through having children. And personally, I think that this separation of these two things causes a lot of problems, not just for women in our own way of seeing our bodies and experiencing pregnancy and birth and everything, but also in our culture in a general way. One small but really big example is abortion, because I think we have separated sex from creating life. And we just think that we can go and have as much sex as we want without the consequence that it does create life and it does create babies. But I'm not going to go too much into that because this is obviously not the topic of this video. But I do just want to point out that it goes much further beyond a simple body image of women, even though that is a massive topic all in of itself. Another point that brings this home for me so much, which has been on my mind a lot because I am preparing myself a lot mentally and physically for labor, is the fact that oxytocin is basically the sex hormone, but it's also the labor hormone. And so all of the things that help to either induce or move labor along and make labor and birth a more pleasurable and less emergency feeling medical intervening experience is oxytocin. All the things that we know to do to help produce oxytocin in our bodies are basically sexual things. Nipple stimulation, orgasms, cuddling, laughing, connecting, that whole range of things. It does feel like such a weird thing in people's minds, but I'm like, this makes so much sense, and how can we separate the two things? And so this basically brings me to my final point, which is that this video is not meant to be like a feminist-y vibe type of video that is just like, I feel ugly and I feel bad about myself, and so I'm trying to make myself feel sexy and give some really good reasons for it and all that stuff. And I'm not wanting to make this into an irritating video at all for people. But I think the main point is, it's not just about sex and wanting to be included in this whole cultural thing and whatever. It's about connection, because I think in a perfect world, babies, and by babies I mean all of us, were meant to be conceived and formed, created, and birthed in a loving setting of connection. And sex just happens to be the deepest form and manifestation of that. And so the things that produce oxytocin, the things that create life in the first place, like cuddling and kissing and making out and laughing and giggling and nipple stimulation and rubbing and grappling and orgasms and all these things, these are just part of a beautiful connection that was designed by a loving creator, and his design was for babies and humans to be birthed into a loving and connected environment. As well as, I don't think that pregnant women or women who have had babies and their bodies carry the marks of that, I don't think that we need to be excluded from feeling sexy or even to be recognized by our culture as sexual beings. Because we are. And to be honest, my sex life got way better after I had kids for some reason. I just wanted to share my thoughts about that, and I have not been able to experience this connection of sex and pregnancy as deeply as I've wanted to in this pregnancy, and that's okay, but I just really wanted to share that with any other person who will listen to me out there and tell you, if you've got a mom bod, babe, you are the sexiest.